Okay, let's unpack this a bit. Imagine you're in a really crucial conversation, yeah,
Mm.
and you're trying to help someone see something about themselves, something they've maybe been missing.
Hmm.
How do you even do that without making them feel, attacked or defensive? It's delicate art, isn't it?
Really is a balancing act.
Right. So today we're diving deep into a really fascinating chapter from Clara E. Hill's Helping Skills. You know the one? Facilitating exploration, insight, and action.
Ah, yes, a foundational text.
Exactly. And this deep dive, it's really for you, whether you're maybe prepping for practice, a student, or honestly just curious about how change happens, those subtle dynamics.
Hmm.
Our mission today, to equip you with some powerful skills for fostering awareness in others. Specifically, how to use challenges effectively in counseling and psychology.
Yeah, and what's interesting here, I think, is how it shifts the focus. We've talked before about support, especially in that exploration stage, right?
Yeah.
Building
Get
safety.
lots of empathy, listening.
Exactly. But this chapter moves us towards intentionally, and I have to stress gently, challenging clients.
Gently is key.
Absolutely. The aim is to help them uncover what might be holding them back, to get to those real aha moments that can spark real growth.
And I think these insights are just so applicable. You don't have to be a therapist in training if you're just interested in human behavior. These examples, they really bring the skills to life, show how they work.
They do. They make it tangible.
So, to ground us, maybe we could clarify what we actually mean by challenge here, because it's probably not the everyday definition, right? Not like challenging someone to a duel.
Oh, no, definitely not. Not about confrontation in that sense.
Yeah.
In a helping context, a challenge isn't criticism.
Right.
It's more like gently pointing something out,
Okay.
like a maladaptive thought maybe, or a feeling they're not acknowledging, or even a behavior. The whole point is just to raise their awareness.
Let's raise awareness
Yeah,
so they can see it for themselves.
precisely. So they can see something they might be missing,
Yeah.
and then maybe become more intentional about it, make different choices.
That's a really important distinction. And I think it connects directly to something the chapter highlights, the difference between awareness and insight. Can you unpack that a little?
Yeah, absolutely. Think of it like this. Awareness is the what. It's just recognizing a pattern. So the example used is Merod noticing, my eye contact is like really intense sometimes. That's awareness.
Okay, just noticing the what.
Right. Insight, though, that's the why. It's
Mm.
digging deeper, understanding why that pattern exists. So Merod might realize, oh, the intense eye contact that comes from feeling uncomfortable as a kid, feeling judged.
Ah, so it connects it to the origin, the meaning.
Exactly. Awareness is that crucial first step. It opens the door. But insight is what gives it context, meaning, and that's what usually empowers real choice and action down the line.
That really clarifies it. The
Mm.
chapter uses this great parallel, doesn't it? Like wanting school to be challenging.
Mm.
Challenging enough to learn something, but not so much it just causes massive anxiety. It's about finding that sweet spot.
That's a perfect way to put it, especially as we move from exploration, which is mostly support, into the insight stage.
Right.
Once you've built that strong therapeutic relationship, that trust, and the helper senses the client is ready, that they can handle it, that's when you start to carefully introduce this balance, support and challenge.
Okay. And the reasons for doing this, the benefits, they seem pretty significant.
Oh, absolutely. They can be quite profound. For one, challenges can really deepen self-understanding. They get clients to question their assumptions, things they've maybe taken for granted.
Like Gerald in the example.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Gerald says he wants help, but he barely shares anything. A gentle challenge might help him realize, wow, I'm holding back because I'm terrified of being rejected, just like when I was criticized as a kid.
And that awareness lets him test that fear in the therapy room.
Right, precisely, in a safe space. So it goes beyond just assumptions about the past. What about those messy, conflicting feelings we all have?
Oh, yeah, the internal tug of war. Does it help with that too?
Definitely. Challenges are incredibly good at addressing ambivalent feelings. We often have mixed emotions, but maybe society or our own rules say we shouldn't feel a certain way.
Like the nice girls don't get angry thing.
Exactly that.
Ah.
So we might push one side down. Challenges can help bring those hidden or dark sides, those unknown feelings, out into the open so they can be looked at.
And sometimes it's not even ambivalence, is it? Sometimes people just keep things very surface level, like Angela insisting everything's fine when her grades are tanking.
Right. And a challenge there can help someone like Angela acknowledge deeper feelings they might have been avoiding. The challenge about her grades might be the nudge she needs to admit, Actually, no, things aren't fine. I'm ignoring bigger problems.
Without that prompt, she might just stay stuck.
She might.
Hmm.
And sometimes, people are quite invested in not being aware. Think about the example of the middle-aged person still blaming their parents for everything.
Ah, yes. Stuck in the blame game.
A challenge might be needed there to help them move past that denial, to start taking some responsibility for their own life, their own actions now.
And another big one, defenses. Challenges help us see our own defenses, right?
Hugely important. We all have defenses. They help us cope. Some are great, really adaptive. Others, maybe not so much anymore.
So it's not about ripping them all down.
No, not at all. The goal isn't to leave someone defenseless. It's to help them understand why the defense is there, what purpose it serves, and then give them the choice about when and how much to use it.
I love that analogy they use, building a door in the wall instead of tearing the wall down.
Isn't that great? It captures it perfectly. When is the wall useful? And when can we open a door to connect, to be more authentic? Having that choice is really empowering.
It really is. It shifts it from feeling attacked to feeling like you have more agency. Okay, so that door in the wall, fantastic image. But how do you know? As a helper, how do you spot when a client might be ready for that gentle push for a challenge?
Well, the chapter talks about looking for sour notes. That's the term Hill uses.
Sour notes, like inconsistencies.
Yeah, exactly. Inconsistencies, indicators that the client might be ripe for an awareness-fostering challenge. It could show up as ambivalence, feeling two ways at once, or contradictions between what they say and do,
Okay.
or maybe just confusion, feeling stuck, like they can't make a decision. These are often signals that there's something under the surface bubbling up, something that needs to be brought into the light.
And it also depends where they are in the change process, right? Like contemplation stage might be a good time.
That's often a key time, yes. Because clients in contemplation are usually already thinking about changing and might be more open to feedback, more willing to look at those inconsistencies.
Right, that makes sense. Okay, this brings up a bigger question then. We're using Hill's term challenge, but the chapter mentions the more traditional term is confrontation. How have different schools of thought viewed this whole idea?
Yeah, looking at the different theoretical lenses is really illuminating. You take the humanistic folks like Kharkov and Berenson. For them, confrontation wasn't aggressive. It was about reducing those ambiguities and incongruities.
Helping people accept themselves, warts and all.
Exactly. They even thought it could create a sort of positive crisis, pushing clients to change, to use resources they hadn't tapped into before, to live more fully.
Interesting. And then you have the psychoanalytic take, Greenson, for example.
Right. Greenson saw confrontation or challenges as a way to highlight resistance, those forces working against the therapy. His view was often confront the defense first.
Before interpreting why it's there.
Yes. Get the client to first face the fact that they are avoiding something before you dive into the deeper, maybe unconscious reasons why they're avoiding it. Identify the resistance, then interpret it.
Okay. And then there's that really fascinating idea, Steidel's community of voices.
Oh, I love that one. It's such a rich concept. The idea is we all have these internalized voices from people in our lives, parents, partners, maybe even past versions of ourselves.
Like Ashley in the example, sounding like her critical mother 1 minute, then her whiny younger self, then her blaming father.
Exactly like that. Challenges, in this view, help bring those different, often conflicting voices out into the open. The goal is to help the client hear them, understand them, and eventually foster more integration and harmony within themselves. It really highlights our internal complexity.
It does. So moving away from those perspectives, what about the cognitive theorists? They also use challenges, but maybe in a different way.
Oh, definitely. Take Albert Ellis. He famously argued that it's not events themselves, but our beliefs about events that cause negative emotions. Irrational beliefs, he called them.
Right, the classic example. Sam gets a C. He feels awful not because of the grade itself.
But because he tells himself, I'm a total failure, I should be perfect. That irrational belief is the problem. So for Ellis, challenges directly target those beliefs, aiming to show the client how irrational they are so they can be replaced with more rational, helpful thoughts.
Makes sense. And Aaron Beck. Also cognitive, but a bit different.
A bit gentler, perhaps. Beck focused more on automatic thoughts and dysfunctional interpretations, often linked to what he called the cognitive triad.
That's self, world, and future, right?
Exactly. Clients might see themselves as defective, the world as hostile or unmanageable, and the future as bleak. Beck's approach used collaborative questioning, almost like a scientist investigating faulty logic.
So finding evidence, like you feel unlovable because one person didn't invite you to lunch, What's the evidence for that global conclusion?
Precisely. Or spotting when someone exaggerates the negative or jumps to conclusions without proof. It's about gently guiding the client to examine their own thinking patterns.
So Ellis and Beck, different styles, but both focus on challenging those problematic thought patterns.
Absolutely. Both aiming to help clients recognize and modify thinking that's causing distress.
Okay, so we've looked at humanistic, psychoanalytic, cognitive, all these different takes. If you had to distill it, what's the big takeaway? The common thread about why challenges or confrontations are seen as so important across the board.
I think the profound implication, the unifying idea, is that awareness is the engine of change.
Awareness itself.
Yes, all these theories, in their unique ways, recognize that without becoming aware of the patterns, the contradictions, the irrational beliefs, the defenses, the hidden feelings, meaningful change is incredibly difficult, maybe impossible. Challenges are the tools we use to gently disrupt those ingrained ways of being and open up space for new understanding and ultimately new actions.
That's a powerful way to frame it. Awareness as the engine. Okay, with that theoretical foundation, let's get practical. What do these challenges actually look like in a therapy room? The chapter really emphasizes challenges of discrepancies.
Yes, those are absolutely foundational. They work by simply juxtaposing two things that seem contradictory, bringing the conflict right into the client's awareness.
And there are different types.
Quite a few. You can have a discrepancy between two things the client says, like you say there's no problem, but then you also say you feel really annoyed. Simple, direct.
Or between words and actions.
Classic one. You say you really want good grades, but you mentioned you spend most nights partying. No judgment, just pointing out the gap.
What else?
Discrepancies between two nonverbal behaviors. I notice you're smiling, but your fists are clenched. Or between two feelings. It sounds like you feel angry at your sister, but maybe also a little pleased that she got into trouble.
Ooh, that one can be tricky to acknowledge.
Very. And then there are values versus behavior. You mentioned you believe strongly in respecting everyone's choices, but then you described trying hard to convince your friend they're wrong about abortion.
Also challenging how someone sees themselves versus their actual experience.
Yes, like you say you feel like nobody likes you, yet earlier you described Maria inviting you out for lunch. Or the gap between the ideal self and the real self. You talk about wanting to meet your mother's incredibly high standards, but you also feel you're just kind of average.
And it can even be between the helper's view and the client's view, right? Even positive ones.
Absolutely. Like with Marita, who's very self-critical, the helper might say, you keep saying you're not competent, but from where I sit, I see you handling these difficult situations really skillfully. That positive discrepancy can be incredibly powerful for shifting self-perception.
So how do you deliver these? The tone seems critical.
Tone is everything. Gently, respectfully, tentatively, with empathy, always. Think of it less like an accusation and more like expressing puzzlement.
I noticed this on one hand and this on the other. I'm wondering about that.
Like you're solving a puzzle together.
Exactly. Not criticizing. Avoid judgment at all costs. We all have inconsistencies. It's about collaborative exploration.
And the phrasing helps. Like, on the one hand, but on the other hand, that structure is great. Or you say A, but non-verbally you seem A. It keeps it factual and non-accusatory.
Okay, so discrepancies are key. What other types of challenges are in the toolkit?
Well, another one is focusing directly on nonverbal behavior, just pointing it out. I notice you're shaking your foot. I wonder what your foot might be saying right now.
That sounds a bit gestalty, getting them out of their head.
It can be, yeah. It helps move from intellectualizing to experiencing what's happening in the body, what the body might be communicating.
And humor. Can that be a challenge?
It can, but it needs skill and good judgment. The key is always laughing with the client, never at them. It can soften a difficult point, help them see absurdity.
Like the client detailing her super controlled weekend and the helper says, and so much control, and she laughs.
Exactly. That humorous observation helped her recognize a pattern, her need for control, in a non-threatening way. It sparked awareness.
Okay. What about silence?
Silence can be a very powerful challenge, actually. It puts the onus back on the client, encourages them to dig deeper, rely on their own resources, instead of waiting for the helper.
Like the client complaining about interruptions and the helper just stays quiet.
Right. That silence allowed the client space to reflect, and he eventually realized his anger was really about his father dominating him. But you have to use silence carefully. It needs a strong alliance, because it can feel abandoning or scary for some clients.
Good point. And challenging language itself.
Yes, inviting clients to change their language to take more ownership. catching things like saying you or everyone when they mean I.
Or changing I can't to I won't.
Exactly. I can't ask for a raise becomes I won't ask for a raise. Or I shouldn't feel angry becomes I choose not to express my anger. Or I allow myself to feel angry. That simple shift highlights choice and responsibility.
And just simple questions, like, really?
Sometimes the simplest challenge is the most effective. A gentle, questioning, really, or are you sure about that, can prompt someone to reconsider a statement they made automatically. Like the client saying women couldn't achieve the helper's simple, really, opened up a space for reflection.
Okay, this is great. Now, there's one technique that sounds particularly powerful for internal conflict, two-chair work.
Ah, yes, two-chair. It's a classic gestalt technique, fantastic for bringing internal conflicts or unfinished business right into the room, making it tangible.
So instead of just talking about feeling torn,
You actually act it out. The client moves between two chairs, each chair representing a different side of the conflict. Maybe the part of me that wants to versus the part of me that's scared.
Yeah.
Or talking to an internal critic or even someone from their past they have unresolved issues with.
can you walk us through how that might look, just basically, so we can picture it?
Sure. So first you identify a clear conflict and check the client's ready for it. It requires some ego strength. Then you introduce it as an exercise, maybe suggest trying it out.
No pressure.
Right. If they're willing, you set up two chairs. Client sits in one, takes on one side, maybe the critical top dog part, and speaks directly to the empty chair, as if the other part is sitting there.
And the helper.
Stays neutral, supports both sides equally. Then the client physically gets up, moves to the other chair, and becomes the other side, maybe the feeling underdog part, and responds directly back to the first chair.
So they're having a dialogue with themselves, essentially.
Exactly. They go back and forth, switching chairs, really embodying each part, expressing the feelings fully. The helper might guide or encourage deeper expression. The goal isn't necessarily resolution, but often acceptance, negotiation, integration between the parts.
And then you process it afterwards.
Always. What was that like? What are you feeling now? What did you learn? Debriefing is crucial.
The chapter uses Jason, right? Struggling with depression, wanting to change, but also resisting.
Yes, a great example. His wants to change side confronts the doesn't want to change side. And through that dialogue, the doesn't want to change part reveals this deep hurt. No one ever paid attention to me.
Wow.
And hearing that, the wants to change side softens, even apologizes for being harsh. Jason, by experiencing this directly, not just talking about it, has this insight. He connects his resistance to feelings about his father. It's a huge shift.
That really illustrates the power of experiencing the conflict. Okay, sounds potentially risky, but incredibly rewarding. Which leads us to guidelines. Challenges are potent. How do we use them well? How do we avoid the pitfalls?
Good question. First off, timing really matters. Challenges usually land best if they're delivered pretty close to the client's behavior or statement,
So in the moment, if possible.
ideally. Saying, just then, you smiled when you mentioned that sad event, I wonder what's going on, is way more effective than bringing it up next week when the moment's gone.
Makes sense. And the chapter stresses cultural considerations. This seems really important.
Absolutely critical and easily overlooked. Challenges can feel like criticism, especially given the power dynamic in therapy. How a challenge is received is hugely influenced by culture.
Like directness might not work well everywhere.
Exactly. For many Asian, Latinx, or Native American clients, for example, a very direct, blunt challenge, even if well-intentioned, might feel disrespectful, cause a loss of face, and damage trust. Remember that example of the Chinese counselor?
Right. Trained in the U.S., confronted an older Chinese man directly.
And the man just politely left and never came back. He found the style rude. So flexibility is absolutely key. Sometimes gentle and tentative is best, sometimes more direct, but still respectful, depending on the client, the culture, the context.
And we also need to think about power dynamics beyond culture, right? Age, gender, race.
All of it. How might those differences between helper and client affect how a challenge lands? Helpers need self-awareness about that.
And then there's transference. Our past experiences color how we hear things now.
Definitely. We're all sensitive to challenges because of parents, teachers, past hurts. So a client might project their critical father onto their male therapist, hearing criticism even when it's meant gently. Helpers need to anticipate that possibility.
So given all that complexity, how do you track the impact? How do you know if the challenge landed well or not?
You have to observe really carefully. Listen to the words, but also watch the nonverbals. Clients often try to hide negative reactions, so you might need to check in directly.
Like, you seem quiet suddenly, what are you thinking? Or, I sense you might be feeling a bit upset right now.
Exactly. Open, gentle invitations to share their reaction. If they deny it, maybe back off, rethink the timing or their readiness. If there's no reaction at all, maybe the delivery was off or they're very defended.
And if they sort of accept it.
If there's partial acceptance, you can maybe gently explore what feels scary about it. And if it sparks new awareness, then you summarize that and help them explore it deeper.
The key seems to be, don't be afraid of strong reactions.
Right. Don't be surprised by them. See them as valuable information. The goal is to help the client express and work through whatever comes up. Those moments can actually be the most productive, even if uncomfortable.
Okay. What about difficulties helpers themselves run into? It's not easy delivering challenges.
True. A really common one is simply not doing enough challenges. Helpers get scared.
Scared of being intrusive, offending someone, ruining the relationship.
All of the above. But the thing is, if done well, with empathy and good timing, a challenge can be a real gift. It might be the only place the client hears honest feedback about self-defeating patterns.
Another pitfall mentioned is using them inappropriately.
Yes, like minimizing serious feelings. Telling someone suicidal, oh, but you have so much to live for. It sounds supportive, but it shuts down their actual experience, makes them feel misunderstood. That's a misuse of challenge.
And then there's the opposite problem. Too many challenges, or too harsh.
Yeah, becoming like a detective, always trying to catch the client out. Or a lawyer, arguing points. Sometimes, maybe unconsciously, a helper might even use challenges to kind of get back at a difficult client. That's really damaging. Helpers have to watch their own stuff, their countertransference.
And what happens if the client challenges the helper back, like denies the observation or says, maybe you need therapy?
Oof, yeah, that happens. And it can really shake a helper's confidence, make them doubt their perceptions. The best way through that is usually supervision.
Talking it through with someone else.
Exactly. To figure out, was I projecting something? Was the challenge accurate, but maybe delivered badly? Or is the client just really not ready to hear this right now? Getting an outside perspective is invaluable.
Okay, this makes sense. To really drive this home, let's touch on that key research study mentioned, Miller, Benefield, and Tonigan from '93, about therapist styles with problem drinking.
Ah, yes, a really important study. The background was that addiction treatment was often very confrontational back then. Tough love, basically. So these researchers wondered, would a more empathic, client-centered style actually work better, especially for people not yet motivated to change?
So they compared the two styles.
They did. They randomly assigned people with drinking problems to either a therapist using a directive, confrontational style, actively challenging denial, giving advice, disagreeing, or a therapist using a client-centered style, focusing on empathy, reflective listening, less labeling.
And the results.
Pretty stark.
Yeah.
The directive therapist confronted way more, obviously, but they also listened less. And the clients in that confrontational group, they argued more, they interrupted the therapist more, they ignored suggestions, they denied having problems more often.
Wow. So the confrontation seemed to provoke resistance.
Exactly. But here's the real kicker. The study found that the more the therapist used confrontation in those sessions, the more alcohol the client reported drinking a year later.
Whoa, so it actually backfired.
It appears so. The major conclusion was that highly confrontational, argumentative styles are strongly associated with client resistance and potentially worse outcomes. It really underscores that while challenges have a place, they must be delivered carefully, embedded in empathy and listening, without becoming argumentative.
That's sobering evidence, pardon the pun. It really highlights the need for skill and sensitivity.
It absolutely does.
Okay, so wrapping this all up, what does this mean for you, listening, whether you're a student heading into practice or just fascinated by this stuff?
I think the main thing is that challenges are incredibly powerful tools, really potent.
Yeah. Not always easy to wield, though.
Not at all. They take practice, they take humility, they take really knowing your client, having that solid relationship. But when used well, they can be a profound gift. They can open doors to awareness and insight that might otherwise stay shut.
And always remember that balance, right? Challenge and support.
Always. Balance support. Watch reactions closely. Be mindful of culture. Think about transference. The goal isn't to win an argument or point out flaws. It's collaboration. It's helping someone uncover their own truths.
So here's a final thought maybe to chew on. If using challenges means risking strong reactions, potentially discomfort for everyone, but not using them might mean leaving someone stuck in patterns that cause them pain. What's the greater risk, really? To challenge, gently and strategically, or to play it safe and avoid challenges altogether?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Something to really consider.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into fostering awareness through challenges. We really hope this has given you some practical insights, maybe a fresh perspective on a really essential helping skill.
Hope it was helpful.
This has been a deep dive brought to you by the Last Minute Lecture Team.
Yeah.
As always, we really appreciate you trusting us with your learning journey.